All right, what's up, everybody? This is Cody, aka DFS Prodigy, coming to you live with Shark Stew from Twitter. We've been good friends. I swear we've been cursed trying to get this video out, but here we go. We're finally ready to go in the UFC fight night. How have you been, my man?
Hey man, I've been good. I mean, we've been trying to do this for so long, and I feel like there's like 4 or 5 different scenarios that came up in our lives, and it's like
Literally.
it's literally on both sides. It's not even like anyone's fault. It's just like every time we're ready to record a podcast together, it's not meant to be, and I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. I was willing to do anything to make this happen. And yeah, honestly, I think we have a good fight night card here. It's not the same name value as like some of these pay-per-views we've seen recently, but I really do think we have a good card. What do you think?
Yeah, literally, as soon as we started recording, your computer starts updating, so I knew we were cursed from the very beginning. But here we are. We're finally ready to go. If the Wi-Fi cuts out or something happens, I swear it's not us. It's just the universe telling us not to record this video. But basically, our plan is to dig into this card. We're going to go over 3 fights. The main event, the co-main, and Hermanson versus the Golden Boy. So the rest of the fights, we're just going to kind of discuss on our own Twitters, which, like I said, we're going to focus on these 3 main fights because I think these 3 are going to be bangers. I cannot wait to dig into this fight with the main event. So, starting with the main event, how do you feel about this main event looking at it?
Yeah, man. So I kind of think the line is kind of accurate right now. I mean, Rob Font is coming off a heater. He's been on a roll lately, like beating Marlon Moraes in the first round the way he did. I know Marlon Moraes has kind of had those sketchy moments lately, but I mean, it's still like that was a guy that was at the top of the division for a while. Like, and he was surging for a title. Like, people were scared to fight Marlon Moraes back in the day. I know that many people turned him down. And so it's just, I know that Font's coming off a lot of hype. He fights out of this good camp. He trains with Calvin Cater. He's paid his dues. He's been in the UFC for a very long time. And it's just like, Cody Garbrandt, recently he had his win against Rafael Assunção. Yes, it was a good win. Yes, it was a skilled win. He was very patient in it. Guess what? Garbrandt didn't really have to deal with too much adversity in that fight. And it's just, I feel like he's going to have a lot more adversity to deal with Rob Font. And that's another reason why I think it's a 50-50 fight. I feel like these guys are both very technical on the feet. Garbrandt has the D1 wrestling in his back pocket outside of Ohio. A lot of people don't even talk about that because he doesn't really show much wrestling in the UFC. But training out of Team Alpha Male, it's a good gym for wrestling, man. Like, I give Team Alpha Male a lot of shit when I'm like analyzing fights, just because I don't think that their fighters have the best game plans. Look at Garbrandt in the past; he hasn't had the best game plans, man. But it's just, I feel like this is definitely a 50-50 fight because both of them have the power to knock each other out. Both of them have, good hand speed. Definitely Garbrandt's the faster one, which everyone in the world will bring that up to you how fast his hands are. If you forget it, the announcers will remind you how fast Cody's hands are. So, yeah, man, I feel like we're going to get a banger out of this fight. I don't have a strong lean on it, but I will say that I feel like this narrative about Cody Garbrandt being no chin Garbrandt it's complete bullshit, man. Like, it's not that Cody, like I sent this tweet out earlier in the week. It's not that Cody has no chin. It's that he's a fucking meathead when he fights. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. It's just when he gets hit hard, he feels the need to like have to get it back right away, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not that he has no, like, he takes some good shots in the pocket. It's not that he has no chin. It's just that he fights like a complete meathead when he gets hit clean. Against Pedro Munoz, he was getting his leg chewed up from the outside. So he was like, okay, man, I just got to make this a brawl because he's going to fuck my leg up if I just keep this up. So I'm going to brawl with him. It didn't end well for him. So I'm saying not confidently. I'm going to lean Cody Garbrandt in this fight. I do like the move to Mark Henry. I think the Team Alpha Male doesn't give the best game plans. I think he did look more patient in that Assunção fight. That fight didn't tell me a whole lot, man, because Cody Garbrandt didn't have to deal with any adversity in that fight. And against Dillashaw twice and against Munoz once, he had to deal with adversity, and we saw what that looked like. So I'm not going to like say that this is definitely going to decision. It's probably going to get finished somewhere in the third, fourth round, I'd say. Maybe it doesn't get that far. But I think someone's going to sleep in this fight, and I'm going to slightly lean Cody Garbrandt, but it's not confidently, man. What do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. I agree with you most what you're saying. So, in my opinion, this is definitely going to be a striking match. This is not going to be focused on the wrestling, as we know, like you said, how fast Cody can be. We know Raw Font's going to go for the knockout. The big deal for me is, like you said, with the chin of Garbrandt, I think it's slightly a little bit there, but at the same time, Rob Font is going to go for that knockout. He's going to go for that power punch. He's going to go basically balls to the wall to try to get Garbrandt knocked off his feet with the chin. But at the same time, what worries me about Garbrandt is that Rob Font has never been knocked out. If you look at his losses, literally his 4 losses have been 3 decisions and then 1 submit. So there's been no knockouts, literally, for Rob Font, which that's what scares me for Garbrandt. My heart wants Garbrandt to win this fight. I'm happy that the kid is back. It's been almost a year now. If we look back, last fight was in June of 2020. So it's been, like I said, almost a year. I want the kid to win. He's way younger than Font. I think that's going to be a little bit of advantage just based on how, like you said, how physical-wise he is. But at the same time, he's a meathead, like you were saying. So at the same time, that's what scares me is how is this mental game going to go into this fight? I think Rob Font mentally is way more capable to win this fight than Garbrandt is. But at the same time, that's why I'm kind of going with my mind. I think Rob Font's going to win this fight. I think if he can keep the pace, I think if he can just avoid the strikes of Garbrandt with how good his chin is, because Rob Font's chin is unbelievable. That's why he's never been knocked out. I mean, he's durable as heck. So that's what I'm mainly focusing on is that Rob Font, based on the defense, based on like the mental game, I think my mind wants Rob Font to win. But my heart wants Garbrandt to go out there and show the world why he belongs in the UFC and why he's back full speed. So that's why I'm kind of 50-50 also. If I had a pick, it would be Garbrandt. But like I said, at the same time, it could be Font. How do you feel about Rob Font's durability, my man?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to bring that up. I'm glad you brought that back to me. Rob Font's actually never gone 5 rounds ever in his career. And Cody Garbrandt does have that experience in his back pocket. We know back in the day went 5 rounds with Dominic Cruz, who was once seen as the best bantamweight ever. So it's like this guy is absolutely no slouch. He absolutely clowned Dominic Cruz to a point where it was like, people were trying to make excuses saying that Cruz was coming in with a foot injury in that fight. But it's like, man, if these fighters get into the fight, like, they know what they're signing up for. They agree to it. Like, if they're going in with an injury, I don't want to hear the built-in excuse of, oh, I was injured. It's like, buddy, you lost that night. Get over it. I know that you might have been injured going into that fight, but you also signed up for that fight. So it's like I don't really take that excuse with too much weight. So it's like with Rob Font, we have a bunch of unanswered questions. And he does slow down later in fights. I know you remember when you remember when Asensio dropped him. Like, Cody would not get dropped by Rafael Asensio. Let's just get that right now. So
Exactly.
I don't know, man. Like, that's kind of why I lean Cody, because if this fight does get to that decision, I feel like it's definitely Cody's. I mean, 100% it's not guaranteed, but I feel like if we're getting to decision, it's way more likely to be Cody's than it is Rob Font's. And if that changes, I mean, like, it could definitely change in my mind, like, going forward, if I see Rob Font go 5 hard rounds and I see a gas tank and I see, I see more than what I saw from Calvin Kattar against Max Holloway, then, like, I'll definitely change my mind on that. But it's like I'm not convinced these New England cartel guys have massive gas tanks. I'm convinced they have very heavy hands. So for that reason and that reason alone, I can't back Rob Font in this spot. If Cody Garbrandt fights like a meathead like he always does, then yeah, he's going to be in trouble. But that's my main reason for siding with Cody, because I just feel like he has more paths to victory.
I think this is definitely more so of a live bet based on how we feel after round 1 or 2. I think we're really going to see both sides kind of take out. So, in my opinion, I'm not really betting this beforehand. I'd rather just wait for the live bet in that round 3 to see how both these fighters are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely know what you mean. I feel like this is definitely more of a live betting situation because, like, going into it, I feel like the line's accurate. So why would I touch it on either side when I could see a round or two and then, get some more information on it?
Exactly. So, moving on to the co-main, Esparza and Yan. I know we both have a heavy take on this fight. I think we're both in agreement. Go ahead and tell us your pick, my man.
Yeah, so you already know. I mean, I had these tweets earlier on in the year where I predicted all the future champions at the end of the year. And during the strawweight section of the women's, I had Mrs. Yan Xiaonan to hold the belt at the end of this year. And there's no way I'm picking against Yan Xiaonan against Carla Esparza in this spot, just because I feel like Carla Esparza has always been that top-heavy gatekeeper. Like, if you want to get a title shot, if you want to move on to the upper echelon of this division, you got to beat Carla Esparza. But here's where this gets really interesting. Because, Cody, I'm telling you, like, right now, they're planning to do a Rose and Weili Zhang rematch for the title. Well,
Yep.
if Yan Xiaonan goes out there and finishes Carla Esparza, she would definitely have a case to leapfrog for a title shot. So I feel like Yan Xiaonan's going to be pretty motivated to go out here and do that. And I say that because all her fights in the UFC, like she has 6 fights in the UFC, Cody, they're all unanimous decisions. Like she's not that finisher, so she kind of needs to get that finish on her resume in the UFC to really like stamp that title shot into fruition. And the way I see it, man, is going through Yan Xiaonan's history. It's like, dude, in 2017 against Kylan Curran, yeah, you won a unanimous decision. You won 2 rounds. So you lost a round to Kylan Curran, who is 6-7 as a professional fighter. It's not a good look, man. You're getting taken down by Kylan Curran. But then guess what? We're going to Team Alpha Male. We're leaving China. We're going to Team Alpha Male, and we're learning that takedown defense. And over time, man, you're seeing it improve. Like against Angela Hill, absolutely beat the snot out of her. I don't care what Angela Hill tries to say on Twitter about getting robbed. No, you didn't. You lost that
It's
fight.
always something, dude. It's always
It's
something.
always something with this girl. I swear, Angela just can't help herself. Against Karolina Kovacevic, like this girl fought for the title. This girl was something serious at one point. Absolutely beat the snot out of her 30-26. Against Claudia Gadeja, absolutely tooled her. Like, yeah, she got taken down a few times. Guess what? That get up game got a lot better. That get up game got a lot better over time going to Team Alpha Male. So, yeah, man, overall, I favor Yan Xiaonan anyway this fight goes. I know that Esparza has the wrestling takedowns. I know that she has all the foot sweeps. I know that she has all the tools. Yeah, of course she could get a couple takedowns and win a decision. It's not very likely, man. I feel like even if you get some takedowns, Carla Esparza, which you probably will, I'll give you that. You're probably going to get some takedowns on her. I think she's going to get right back up, right to her feet. She triples her up in significant strikes landed per minute. It's not even a contest on the feet. Like Carla has definitely gotten some better hands over the year, but it's not even going to look like a contest on the feet. Carla's just going to want to get these takedowns. She's going to have to hold on for dear life. It's not a good route to victory. It's just, you only have that one dimension. It's a great dimension to have. If you have one dimension, I mean, you might as well be a wrestler, but I'm saying that okay, first of all, there is no world where Yan Xiaonan would lose a split decision to Randa Marcos. There is no world where that would happen. And like people say that was a controversial decision for Esparza to lose. I don't care. Like it's a controversial fight against Randa Marcos. It's not a good look,
Yeah.
man. So I think Yan Xiaonan's gonna light her up on the feet. I think if she gets taken down, she's gonna get right back up. I think that this is going to look like most of her other fights where she gets a 30-27, but I also think that there's a chance that she really wants to impress the UFC brass out there and get that stamp of approval for her title shot and jump Weili Zhang for that rematch with Rose. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're definitely on the same page. While you were talking, I was pulling up the DraftKings salary for Jan at 8,600. And what you're going to get out of her for 8,600, if you look at her past fights, 72, 114, 78, 90, 58, and 70. That price tag alone is what makes me fall in love with her on DK. I love her there. I think the significant strikes are going to be there. Her volume going into this fight is going to be out of this world. That's what I'm mainly looking at is those significant strikes. That's what you need on DK. So from that point of view, I really want her on DK. I love her there. I think this is her fight to win. It's basically going to be grappler versus striker. I'm all in on the volume, Yan. I love that she goes basically go out there and just has heavy strikes. Just the volume, the accuracy of all those strikes is going to be out of this world. Like I said, that's where I'm mainly focusing on her. I think she's a talented fighter. I think she's going to leapfrog, like you said, for the belt. I want her to leapfrog and get the belt. I think that'll be great for her. I think the aggression out of Yon is going to be there for her. I think the hands are going to be there for her. And like I said, I think the striking is mainly where I'm looking at for this girl. Esparza, like you said, we know Esparza. We know that you basically have to get around her in order to go to the championship. This is basically all she's good for in the UFC. So, but the thing is, the grappling, that's all she's good for, which we've seen some fighters only have that. We've seen fighters just only have grappling. It's looked okay, until they face a striker, and then they get just outmatched. Because I'm taking striking over grappling all day, every day, in my opinion. So, from where I'm looking at, I think this is Jan's fight to win. I think this is her title shot. I think she's going to go out there and try to outstrike Esparza easily. I think it's definitely going to happen. I'm surprised that the betting line still is there. I mean, I know you wanted to talk about the betting line, which I know we'll get to in a second. But like I said, I'm taking Jan over Esparza. I think this is a great DK price for her. I think this is a great fight to watch. And tell me about the betting wise for this girl, my man.
Oh yeah, so Yan Xiaonan actually opened up a minus 190 favorite, and then she came all the way down to a minus 120. Where I feel like, man, if you told me I was gonna get a minus 120 on Yan Xiaonan against a one-trick pony Carla Esparza, like I'd just be going to the bank trying to bet this line because I really feel like Yan Xiaonan has a lot of good paths to victory here, and it's not even just like a DK play for me. It's like almost an all-around play. It's like I see this girl's
Yeah.
volume in all her fights, and I just like what I'm seeing, man. So it's like Esparza has been beat by some weaker competition than Yan Xiaonan in the past, and I know that Esparza actually recently just beat Marina Rodriguez, who's been on a tear lately. But the thing about that was it was a controversial decision. And it's like if she gets in that
Yeah.
situation here, Yan Xiaonan does not make things controversial, man. Like when Yan Xiaonan fights, she throws so much volume that it doesn't even seem close. And all her UFC fights, it's like you can't even debate who won that fight, even though Angela Hill tried to.
I'm about to
So
say until we see Angela Hill, right? Yeah, I was like, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, wait, hold on.
we were
I
on
gotta
the
go ahead
same
and
wavelength.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so are we gonna move on to our next fight, or did you want to talk more DK on this fight?
So basically on DK, like I said, Jan is a lock and load at her price tag. If you think Esparza is going to get the takedowns, I can see why you want her just based on how DK scoring is. But for me, I'm mainly just going to Jan and putting her as a core piece into my line and then moving on. I mean, do you have any hope for Esparza on DK, or what do you think, my man?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you definitely want maybe a little chunk of Esparza, unless you think that her ownership's going to get completely out of hand, which I'm not totally sold on right now. I mean, the line movement would suggest that she's a decent play on DraftKings, but the thing about this is I feel like the volume of Yan Zonan, like the way that she just gets up from all these takedowns and all
Yeah,
these previous fights that I've seen, like of course, like Esparza's gonna land takedowns, guys, but I think
yeah,
Zonan's
it's
gonna
gonna
be able
happen.
to get up from it. I feel like we're just gonna get a stalemate there. I feel like Zonan's gonna light her up on the feet. And I feel like it's definitely going to be a big score on DraftKings. If you feel like Esparza is going to be landing takedowns at will, then absolutely you should be playing her. She's cheap. I mean, the line value's there. It definitely makes sense. It's just the way that I see this pricing. It's like I think Zaunan's almost a lock to beat her salary at this price. It's just almost a foregone conclusion for me, Cody.
Exactly, exactly. So then going on to a fight that I know we both love, and in my article I literally said I love in capital letters this fight is Jack Hermanson versus Golden Boy. So for me, Joker, I think this is all going to be kind of a similar game plan of what we talked about beforehand with the Spars and Young. This is grappler versus striker, and obviously the grappler is going to be Jack Hermanson. So I'm all over Jack Hermanson in this fight. I think the Brunson fight definitely exposed Golden Boy to how bad he is at takedown defense. I mean, it was just crazy to see how brutally that he just looked outclassed in that fight. And I think that experience over him. I think that Sparza's. I mean, I think Hermanson's age. He's being the older fighter, being the older guy, the older vet. Basically, is what I'm looking at in this fight. So for me, I think Joker's game is going to be get him to the ground and basically out grapple him. And I love that price on DK also at his price tag to get those takedowns. I mean, that's going to be a whirlwind of a salary saver, in my opinion. At 8,900 for Hermanson, I'm locking and loading that. I love that price tag for him. I think the grappling, like I said, is going to be the key advantage in this fight. Well, are we on the same page for this fight, my man?
Yeah, man, absolutely. You already know after that last performance against Derek Brunson, I'm not rushing to the window to
Yeah,
side with Edmund Shabazian. Like, man,
no.
that was ugly. And people like to call him a one-round fighter. Guys, if he's a one-round fighter in that first round, he did not look
Yeah,
very good in that fight,
yeah,
man. Like
yeah.
Like that whole fight, it just was going downhill, and I don't really like blame him too much because he took a big step up from what he was like previously fighting against, if you know what I'm saying. Like Darren Stewart, when he went deep into the waters with Darren Stewart, and he's not looking all that great. Like he of course okay, so he's getting some takedowns, he's landing some decent shots, but it's like, man, you are not looking that good. You do not look to be having that good of cardio right now. And it came right after that first round. So I mean, I think that's the two times we've really seen like, Edmund Shabazian look kind of sketchy. Because all these other fights, Cody, they're just ending in the first round, and that's kind of where this first round or bust narrative comes from. Because it's like, okay, if this guy does not knock you out in the first round, and we are going to see a second round, in the past fights, the two fight examples that we have, he has not looked very good. It is what it is. And I mean, Jack Hermanson has gone 5 rounds with a couple people before, normally
Yeah.
always going to decision. I mean, he did get knocked out by Jared Cannonier, but going to decision against Marvin Vettori, I mean, those two losses
Yeah.
in general, like I kind of think we can forgive Jack Hermanson for that. In between, beat Kelvin Gastelum, beat a washed up Jacare Souza. Can't say much about it at this point because Souza's just been on a very
Yeah.
tough spree this past few fights.
Yeah.
So honestly, I'm leaning the Hermanson side on DK and like the betting perspective because I don't think the line is where exactly it should be. But I'm not going to say that you should not play Shabazian on DraftKings because he is very cheap. And guess what his route is, Cody? It's a first
Yeah.
round KO that is going to break the slate. And if you don't have him, you are going to regret it. So I understand why in your article you were like, yeah, I love this fight because it's like both sides are going to pay off and you just know it's going to happen. But obviously, I'm going to side with Jack Hermanson. We got more routes to victory there. And I just think he's going to get it done through the grappling, kind of like you said. I mean, Shabazian gone past the first round. He just does not look good. He doesn't even have more significant strikes landed per minute, Cody, than Hermanson. Hermanson has 5.03. Shabazian has 3.85. For a striker, I mean, I don't know. That's not a good look, man. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and I'm surprised at how young Shabazian is. Being only 23, I think he does have life to like. I think he can definitely improve his game over time. I think it's definitely there, being how young he is. But at the same time, I just think that Hermanson outclasses him. I think this is Hermanson's fight to win. I mean, the more experience wise, I just think being in the game longer for Hermanson is going to expose Shabazian much more, especially on the grappling side, like we saw in the Brunson fight. So I just think the Joker knows what he's doing in this fight. I think that he knows the game plan. I think that it's first round or bust for Edmund, and I don't think he gets it in this first round. To be honest with you, there's no way, in my opinion. I think Hermanson just defends the knockout well, in my opinion. I mean, what else do you think about this fight?
Yeah, so I don't even know if I brought this point up, but I want to say winning a split decision over Darren Stewart. I don't even think Darren
Yeah,
Stewart belongs in the UFC. Like, yeah, okay, Edmund Shabazian did win that fight. It was like, controversial or whatever. But, winning a split decision over Darren
yeah,
Stewart, I don't even think that guy's in the top 50 of that weight class. So it's just like seeing stuff like that, it's like it just adds to that first round or bust fighter narrative. I know a lot of people are calling that lazy analysis this week, but it's like, well, I mean,
it
like,
is what it is.
can you show me something that he
Yeah,
has a good second round? Because I haven't seen it.
that's what I'm saying. It is what it is at this rate for him. Like I said, he's only 23. He has room to improve. But right now, the Joker's in his prime. This is his fight, in my opinion.
Well, we totally agree with each other.
So before we head out, my man, what is your favorite DK play based on the price tag and value rate? If you had to go over one,
Yeah, so you already know I got Yan Zhao. I mean, it might not be the best line value based on the line movement, but it's like, man, everything we already talked about. I really think that even if this girl wins a decision, she's gonna beat her salary. But I really think she wants to finish Carla Esparza and make that stamp of approval for that title shot. And I really think that's what she's going to go out there and try and do. And even if she can't do it, I don't think it'll matter, Cody, because like we already talked about, I mean, even when this girl goes to decision, she leaves no doubt in those judges' minds. Like
exactly.
30-26 across the board against Karolina Kovacevic. Like, I mean, you got to do a lot to get that done. I know a lot of people have beaten that girl, but 30-26 across the board is pretty freaking impressive to me. So if I have one one DraftKings play that I want to play. It's Yan Zhao 8,600 lock and load.
Exactly. Mine would be Hermanson at 8,900. I trust Hermanson. I mean, compared to Justin Taffa at 9,000 and Spencer at 8,700, I'm taking Hermanson right in that middle, 8,900. There's not much more you can say. Like you said, if you want to lock in Hermanson and you want to lock in Jan, so I'm doing it right now to show everybody, you literally still have 8,100 left to go. And based on how the main event is priced with Garbrandt at 7,900 and then Rob Font at 8,300, what else do you need to do, honestly? I think the DK pricing is definitely well in our favor for this week. I hope it's way better than last week for both of us because we know how last week went with how many underdogs won and how crazy that slate was. I think this is going to be a way better week for both of us. So, in my opinion, if you want to lock in Jan, you want to lock in Hermanson and get you a piece of the main event, which I think you have to have this week. I think you absolutely have to have Rob Font or Cody Garbrandt this week. I don't think this is a no fade the main event because I know it happens sometimes every now and then. I think this week you have to lock and load the main event. What do you think, my man?
Yeah, I think first of all, I just want to comment on the last thing you just said because I think if you fade the main event, especially after losing that Paiva and Dvorak fight, I mean, we didn't completely lose Dvorak yet, and we actually didn't even talk about that because he got a lot of line value now that he has a late replacement opponent on 24 hours. But now that we lost that fight, I feel like you definitely want to play the main event. If you don't play the main event, I guarantee you one of these guys will make you pay and make you regret not doing that. So playing the main event is definitely a must. And as far as like a bet that I like for this week, a lock play, if you will, I'm going to go with Bill Algeo, man. I see minus 117, 5 dimes. I kind of like that price. I'm actually going to go bet that right this second as we're talking. So, yeah, I like Bill Algeo in this fight against Ricardo Ramos. I think that Bill Algeo has lots of paths to win. He has a lot of reach advantage, has the height advantage. He will in a lot of his fights in the UFC, especially at the 145 weight class. So, yeah, I like what I've seen with Bill Algeo. Give me Bill Algeo as my favorite bet.
Would you take him in DK or no?
That's a little different because I feel like this fight might go to decision, just like his last fight did with Spike Carlisle, where I don't think Bill Algeo actually scored all that well in that fight. I could be wrong offhand, but I don't think Bill Algeo scored well in that fight. And I'm not positive he'll be a good DK play, but I'm not going to be fading him if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, most definitely. For me, I'm going to go kind of different. I think in the main event, if you want to get that plus money on Garbrandt, you go grab it right now at plus money because I don't think it's going to be at plus money for much longer. I think on Bet Online, where I'm looking at right now, it's plus 102 for Cody Garbrandt and Rob Fonts at negative 122. I think that Garbrandt value is there. I think at plus 102, it's going to be more juiced as we see tomorrow. I think that everybody's going to try to flock to Rob Font, if I'm being honest, because everybody's going to start getting their opinions together. Everybody's going to see all the preview shows and everything. So, in my opinion, I'm taking Garbrandt at plus money. I know my heart wants no love, and my mind just thinks Rob Font's going to win. But at the same time, I'm taking my heart pick. I'm taking the no love at plus 102, my man.
Yeah, well, I like it, man. I'll definitely be playing some no love in my lineups. It's just a matter of getting that right percentage, that right combination, and just having it in the right contest, man. That's what the DFS game is all about. And yeah, I had a lot of fun talking to you about this card. I just wanted to say that I'm with pickcity.com and my at is Kilsta DFS, KILLSTUH DFS.
Exactly. So to everybody, go check him out. He's been a good friend of mine. Like I said, we're not cursed anymore since we got through the show perfectly fine. Somehow, some way, with no tornadoes, no earthquakes, no Wi-Fi connection being out, somehow we made it. I don't know how we did it, but we finally did. I guess the curse is broken. So, as everybody knows, always like this video. Definitely subscribe. We finally hit over 300. I know it's a one-man show just for me. So you can follow me on D Prodigy on Twitter, Instagram, DFS_Prodigy, and definitely subscribe, like I said, to the YouTube channel. It was fun having you on, my man. It was fun discussing these 3 fights, and I cannot wait to talk to you more about these fights tomorrow. So I hope everybody has a good and safe rest of their day, and have a good one, everybody.
Later, guys.